We were working with kids who were from impoverished backgrounds. So I remember seeing this little girl and her parents were struggling with addiction.
Okay.
And for the first time, I saw myself again.
I knew you were going to say that.
From that moment on, soon as I got back to my room, I prayed, like, God, please help me to make sense of everything that I've been through so I can help other people get through it.
Welcome back to What I Know Now. I'm your host, Cole Williams, and today we're talking about human stories beyond America's justice system. Through honest conversations, we search for understanding, accountability, and a path forward. So I'm sitting in the room with Nala. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Glad to be here. Glad to have you in this space with us. There are a bunch of listeners who do not know you. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you come from, and how you got started?
So my name is Nala Barlow. I am currently a clinical mental health professional in a juvenile detention center.
Okay.
And my journey first began in childhood. I grew up in a home where I had to grow up early.
Okay.
I was a parentified kid, so I had to be there for my mom and my siblings.
Okay.
But sadly, no one was there for me. We experienced a lot of instability. Oftentimes we were homeless, sleeping in shelters. We didn't know where our next meal would come from. We were sleeping in cars, sleeping on people's floors, on church floors.
So I just heard your childhood, but how does someone with the background that you just described find themselves teaching in a detention facility? How did you get there?
In the midst of that instability, I also had the responsibility of caring for my siblings, getting us up for school. By the time I was in the 6th grade, I was catching 3 buses across town to get me and my siblings to school.
And how old were you?
12, 11,
12 or
6th grade.
Okay.
Yeah. So being a parentified kid, it made me believe that when I did have needs or that when I did want to set boundaries, that I was selfish for it. So, having to be the person that makes sure everybody else is okay and like take care of all these other responsibilities, I didn't have the time to take care of me. So I also had, my mom growing up, she also had an undiagnosed mental health diagnosis. And a lot of her behaviors to me were just normal, just a lot of her unhealthy parenting techniques were symptoms of her mental health diagnosis, but I didn't know.
Right.
So instead of me thinking like something is wrong with my mom, I thought something was wrong with me.
And how many kids do you work with currently that are residents in the facility where you work at might have that same kind of concept and idea or ideology about themselves and their parents? Would you say 90%, 50%?
Yeah, I would say about 90% of the kids that I work with have similar backgrounds, raised in similar chaos. And I like to be intentional about words, so that's why it's just taking me. So even when I pause, it's just me trying to get my words together.
Beautiful.
Sorry.
No,
but yeah.
One, don't apologize. 2, that's what this podcast is for. So take the time you need, because I want you to say what it is you really need to say.
Okay. Since I had the responsibility of taking care of other people, and I was never given the space to learn who I was. Like growing up, I feel like I didn't grow up. I feel like I was just surviving. I was just trying to, in this chaos, I just had to be. Yeah. I just had to get through. So I was experiencing like a lot of pain, a lot of anger, and I didn't know why. I didn't have anyone in my life to, make sense of the chaos. So eventually it turned into behavioral issues. I started acting out in school, fighting, skipping school, smoking, hanging around gangs. Like, I didn't care about my life.
Were there any adults in your path, school, community, as you were acting out, stop to say, hey, ask you what's going on?
Yeah, so no adult took the time to ask me what was going on. No one took the time to understand what's behind these behaviors. You know, I feel like oftentimes when kids exhibit behavioral issues, you know, we just label the kid. This kid is defiant. This kid is fast.
This kid is bad.
This kid is bad.
Yeah.
Whole time, this kid is just doing the best they can with the only tools that they have access to. Yeah. Or, you know, they're trying to figure out life on their own. And for me, I will say a consistent adult that I did have in my life was my grandfather. And my grandfather's relationship with my mom was estranged. So I would have to like secretly see my grandfather. Like, so when my mom was at work and we didn't have food, my granddaddy would come over and, you know, bring us food. Or when the lights were cut off or I don't know, just whenever we needed something, my grandfather just always showed up. But even for that, even for reaching out to my grandfather when we needed it, when we needed a meal, when we needed clothes, I was punished for it. Like when my mom would find out, you know, she really parented through fear and corporal punishment. But, you know, she never had conversations with me or, you know, gave me much guidance. Yeah. You know, it was just more so like, just do what I say and no explanation of why I'm doing, you know, what she said.
So there are a lot of parents that I work with and professionals too, that have grown up in homes where the adults and parents say things like, do as I say, not as I do. They say children ought to be seen and not heard. Does that sound like kind of like that philosophy and ideology that your mom had as well?
It does. And what people don't realize is that kids learn more from what they see us doing than what we say to them. Yeah. You know, kids remember more of how we make them feel than they'll ever remember, you know, a phrase that we said to them. Like, words are seeds, but the way that we carry ourselves is more important for shaping who they become.
So here you are, 12-year-old girl, 6th grade, not seen, not heard, and navigating all of this while at the same time caring for your siblings, right? What gave you the strength to do all that?
It was survival. You know, I feel like I had no choice but to do it. Okay. But I will say though, there were a lot of strengths and gifts I feel like I developed from having that much responsibility. Okay. So when I was in 8th grade, my mom got evicted again and she could no longer take care of us. So she sent us to live with family members in Georgia. And for the first time in my life, I have the space to just be a kid. And, you know, they still had this idea of me based on what my mom, you know, told them about me. But, you know, just having the opportunity to just focus on me, for the first time in my life, I was able to see what I could become. Okay. Or think about, I feel like back then it was much more what I didn't want to become. I didn't want to become like my mom. So in my grandfather, something that he poured into me and taught me a lot, or, you know, preached to me a lot was, you know, education is the key. Okay. And don't have kids that you're not able to provide for. So I feel like before I could even know what was the right thing to do, I had to decide the things that I'm seeing, the way that my mom is parenting me is wrong and it's going to stop with me. I feel like that was just the first step, the awareness that something needs to stop. Yeah,
yeah. And it's safe to say that kids have that level of awareness. Kids know that, okay, at some point they recognize this isn't normal. This isn't okay. Yeah. Right? And I also think, too, that it's really hard to change if you don't have a consistent, loving, supportive adult in your journey to be able to help you navigate some of the hardships that come with being a parent, being a child of a parent who struggles with their own mental health. And I think sometimes we demonize parents for the choices that they make, but we also don't take into account what it might be like to be a parent who is struggling with their mental health. And many times parents aren't even aware sometimes that they have a mental health diagnosis, or and so they're sort of navigating too out of what you just described, which I think is powerful, is that at some point the whole family is just simply trying to survive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. And I agree. And looking back, despite how I am sharing my story, I do have a lot of sympathy for my mom because even for her, I feel like she was parenting me and my siblings the way that she was raised. You know, the things that she gave, she wasn't able to give us something that she never had.
Yeah. Yeah. So take us to your grandfather saying education is the pathway. Education is the pathway.
Okay.
And at some point you must have believed that education is a pathway because you took a path into education. So can you tell us a little bit about what made you decide? Because I think another thing you said is that I made a decision. So talk a little bit about what were the decisions that you made that led you to the university that you ultimately graduated from.
So once I moved to Georgia and I said that I had the space to finally be a kid and start to, seeing my life differently.
Yeah.
I was able to, for the first time, now I'm just able to focus on school. I'm not preoccupied with survival, not wondering, where my next meal is going to come from or, all the responsibility that comes with taking care of my siblings. So when I got to Georgia, I decided to focus on school. I'm like, this is going to be a fresh start. This is going to be an opportunity for me to start to do things different and build the person I want to become.
Build the person you want to become. The Delta Project has a North Star that says, how do I become something I don't see? You flip that and say, hey, I don't want to be this. So I'm going to remix it and figure out who I want to be and then take off running with it.
Yeah. I feel like so often you hear people say, I'm trying to find myself. Or, I wish I was the same person I was before this situation happened or before this painful event happened. But one thing we take for granted is that we might not be able to change the past or change what happened to us, but we can build something new for ourselves.
Part of it, building something new for myself, is I have to believe that I'm worthy of something new. I have to believe that the narrative that I once had about myself can be changed and that I can be what I desire to be.
Yeah.
And I think that for a lot of kids who come from journeys and experiences where they aren't seen, where they aren't heard, and they don't feel valued, or they simply don't belong, that's a hard buy-in. It's hard to believe that I could actually be something when everything around me tells me I can't.
Yeah.
And so I'm just listening to you that there, again, because we go back to, can one caring adult create a path forward for a young person if they actually believe and trust this person? And what I hear you saying is yes, that's possible.
It is possible. Before we can imagine a life that's different from our own, it's important to know the basics of building a foundation. Because before I knew I wanted to, work with the population that I'm working with, I knew that I needed to have an education.
Okay.
I knew that I needed to learn how to communicate, to express myself. I knew that I had to find a place to belong.
Yeah. And in order to be able to do that, you first had to find safety, both physical safety and psychological safety.
Exactly.
So that you could become.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what being removed from my environment provided, safety for the first time in my life.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, even as a dad, I used to think that safety was creating just a home. If you got a nice home, then that's safety. But I soon learned that if you're a kid who lives in a nice home, but psychologically the house is not safe and the people that are in the home with you are not psychologically safe, then you're still going to have lots of challenges because the home might be safe, but the people that you're with psychologically aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So take us. So now you're in Georgia, you're going to school, you're doing well in school, you are now able to be carefree and be a kid. How did you go from Georgia to Michigan?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. I'm just what do I share?
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep the important stuff.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I got you. Yeah. So after completing my 8th grade year in Georgia, I wanted to come back and be with my mom.
Okay.
And it's so crazy because I feel like oftentimes with kids who are removed from, unstable or unsafe situations, you would think like this kid is so grateful to be here. Everything should be fixed. You should be grateful, but I did still crave crave having a relationship with my mom and being around her. And even back then, I saw that she was, even behind her behaviors, her harmful, tough love, as some would call it, I saw a person who was hurting. And, just being, we were, in a way we were bonded.
Yeah. And not only that, what people sometimes forget, what systems forget, that this is your mom.
Yes, this is my mom.
This is my mom.
Yeah.
And we would think that, hey, if we remove you from this person and we put you in this environment where you get 3 meals a day and the people around you recognize you, that is enough to make you say, okay, I don't want to go back to that life.
Right.
But what we forget to think about is that there is a bond that is created with children and their parents. Yes. And you craved that relationship and connection with your mom.
Yeah, because I think that, even though my physical needs were being met, I still had emotional needs that weren't being met. And I thought that going back with my mom, maybe something, maybe she'll change, maybe things will be better this time. But unfortunately, my mom was still homeless. So I ended up living with my aunt for my 9th grade, like the beginning of my 9th grade year. Okay. And then eventually I ended up with my grandfather. Came back to Detroit. I started to attend Cody High School in Detroit. And I knew that if I wanted to continue down this path of becoming something greater than what I've experienced, I knew that I needed structure.
You knew that?
I knew that.
I'm so glad you're saying that, because I say to parents all the time, children need structure. Although they might not be able to articulate it. Yeah. They need it. And they want it, and they will form around it. Yeah.
They will.
Yeah.
So I joined the basketball team, and, I'm like, dang, where do I even start? Because basketball basketball just opened up so many doors and opportunities for me. So I had a coach, Coach Baker, who poured into us so much that very quickly, he became more than just a coach. He also became a dad.
Shout out Coach Baker.
Yeah, shout out to Coach Baker. So I feel like being involved in sports, period, just teaches you so many skills. Hard work, accountability, consistency. Look, I'm talking about a lot. So my coach was very intentional about also having conversations with us about these things and how important they are, and how, they will one day be transferable. And he also, often told us, no matter the cards you're dealt, you can still make the best of it. Okay. And he also just held us to a very high standard. Okay. So I had teammates who were getting 4.0 GPAs, just all American, all city, recognition. And also, that also made a big difference into shaping who I am, because now I'm around other people and adults who want better for us.
It's almost like your peer group changed too, right? Because now you're around people that are striving for these goals. Now you've got adults around you who are pouring into you in a way that also helps you see that there is a possible future. And so now you're on this team, now you're playing ball, now you're being coached, now you're surrounded by this new community. How did you take all of that and move that into wanting to attend a university?
Coach Baker definitely pushed us all towards higher education. Okay. So my grandfather valued education, my coach valued education, and it's to the point where I value education too now. So again, his role went beyond coaching, parenting. He was also a teacher, in the school. And he gave us, resources for the SAT. Okay. So he connected us with a lot of community members who helped us with the college enrollment process. Okay. Poured so much into us, in every aspect of our life, relationally, mentally, on the court, physically. He's great. He is great.
Yeah. In our last couple episodes, I've had Christopher Lovelady come on, who is a coach and who also talks about basketball. and the connection with mentorship and transferable skills. Now I'm here sitting with a student of the basketball and track, right?
Yes.
Because I don't think we talked about
I was
that.
say we didn't get to that
We
yet.
didn't get to that yet. So now, because all of it's starting to make sense that kids have to find something to belong to in a way where there is an adult
Yes.
who's willing to walk alongside you in these journeys.
Yeah.
So now you're graduated from high school. You've taken the right test, the ACTs. And how do you decide what school you're going to go to?
Yeah. So, okay, so I'm gonna have to go back a little bit.
Go back.
So Coach Baker was also the type of person who knew the dangers of, kids having idle time.
Okay.
So during the off season, you got to play a sport. It was a non-negotiable. So, we had other options: volleyball,
Okay.
track, cross country. In the fall, as basketball players, we had to run cross country.
Okay.
So in the spring, we had to run track or softball, but
Okay.
Obviously with these long legs,
Right. It's gotta be
I had a
something.
little natural talent with the I had a natural talent with track.
Okay.
So in addition to Coach Baker, I also have Coach Mac and Coach H, who come into my life maybe, let's say, 10th grade.
Okay.
It wasn't long before I stood out in track. And Coach H and Coach Mac also spent a lot of time also pushing me towards something greater. They all, told me like, oh, if you keep working hard, you can be a professional athlete. Oh, I could be a professional?
Right.
So, and then of course, they told me that so many times that I started to believe it, and that was something that I wanted for myself. So in, high poverty schools, there isn't a lot of kids being recruited.
It's true.
So my coaches were very intentional about me reaching out to coaches. So I ended up filling out a questionnaire for Michigan State. So one of the scholarships that I was offered was the Spartan Advantage.
Okay.
I also got connected to Coach Yo at Michigan State,
Okay.
who was the sprints coach.
Okay.
So even though I didn't get a track scholarship,
Okay.
I still was like, I need this structure.
Right.
And of course, like, who is going to miss an opportunity to run Division I?
Nobody.
Nobody. So, it just all worked out. So, I graduated high school valedictorian, and I start to attend Michigan State. My first 2 years, I studied engineering, but it just didn't feel fulfilled.
Okay.
So also in high school, Coach Baker got us involved in youth ministry.
Okay. Man, coach.
Right? Yeah, he was connected. He was making us take advantage of all the resources.
That's good.
But also when I got to college, I continued to participate in, young adult ministry now.
Okay.
And I went on a mission trip to LA.
Okay.
And there was we were working with kids who were from impoverished backgrounds. So I remember seeing this little girl, and her parents were struggling with addiction.
Okay.
And for the first time, I saw myself again.
I knew you were going to say that.
From that moment on, soon as I got back to my room, I prayed, like, God, please help me to make sense of everything that I've been through so I can help other people get through it. It just lit a fire in me to want to help kids with similar circumstances.
Okay.
So I ended up changing my degree to interdisciplinary studies. I studied psychology and political science.
Okay.
When I changed my major, the things that I was studying in my coursework, for the first time, I had the language to describe everything that I've experienced growing up. Because at this point, I've survived it, I've made it through, but I still don't have the words for it.
Why is that important?
For me, having the language was so important because it was validating. I felt like growing up, I often felt misunderstood. And now I got the language to describe why I feel misunderstood. I knew that something was wrong, but I just didn't know what.
Yeah.
So in my coursework and through my coach in college, Coach Yo, I was able to finally put words on all of this all of this trauma I had been through, essentially. So something that I didn't understand that was hard for me in college was trying to figure out, like, okay, if I'm safe now physically, why am I still feeling like I'm not good enough? Why am I still not feeling love? Why am I still feeling like something is missing? And Coach Yo, one day she asked me, because she's very faith driven, like, why don't you like let people help you? Why don't you, at least talk to God about it? And then I said, because I feel like they all gonna leave me the way my parents did. They gonna abandon me the way my parents did. So this is the first time I'm able to connect my childhood to how I'm operating and why am I feeling the way I feel today.
You know how big that is? There are adults walking around still unable to put language to their trauma or still unable to describe how their trauma experiences have impacted them as adults and how still they're functioning in those same behaviors that they've learned to protect themselves or their coping strategies from childhood as adults. So the fact that at this space and this time in your life, you've been able to like put the language together through education, I think is really important for people to like sit with, because I think we also sit and work with kids who don't have the language and they can't express themselves, but the way that they express themselves is through dysregulation and acting out and yelling, cursing, throwing, and becoming explosive. And we tend to punish those kids. But really it's because too, they don't know how to communicate what's happening to them. And so the only way to do it is to do it the way that they know how.
Right.
Yeah.
Dang, mic drop.
No, man, I mean, you're dropping the mics because you're really giving evidence to this work. And so here you are, a student in Michigan State with a really important question that a coach is asking you, why don't you accept help? And then you're able to give that answer. And so how does that take you to working at a detention facility?
Yes.
How does that happen?
Okay, so also, my junior year of college, I resumed responsibility of my siblings again.
Okay.
So at the time, I'm 20 and my sister is 16. So she comes first to live with me. So 6 months later, my 8-year-old sister comes to live with me. So we kind of back into this survival mode. So again, my goal is to be the person that I wish we had as kids. But even then, I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
I wasn't. Yeah. It was hard.
Yeah.
Still going through the emotional struggles of still trying to find myself or build myself. And at this time, I'm thinking I need to be finding myself.
Okay. While parenting.
So again, I'm put back on the back burner.
Yeah.
So for a long time, only my coaches knew, the responsibilities that, and a few friends knew that I was raising my younger siblings. Okay. And so much was going on that we started to build an even bigger support system through the athletic community. Okay. So my goal after I graduated undergrad was to move me and my 2 sisters at the time back to Detroit with my grandfather. But it's so much. In 2022, my grandfather passes away. When he passed away, I'm just going to say that his home was no longer available. Yeah. So before, my granddaddy, that was my safety net. Yeah. That was my go-to person. If anything went wrong in life, I knew that I could always run to my grandfather. I always knew that. So when he passed away, I felt lost. I was alone. I felt alone. Yeah. But since I had built these relationships with all these adults, they knew how much I depended on my grandfather. Essentially, my coaches offered me a scholarship and offered me an opportunity to get my master's and to make East Lansing my home. I ended up starting grad school and ended up choosing social work. At first, it was macro social work. Okay. And it's so crazy because when I chose this degree, the only thing I knew about social workers, I associated social work with CPS. And I'm like,
I don't want to be a dad.
I don't want to be a,
I
yeah,
want to take
don't.
kids away from their family.
Yes, all of those things, all of those things. But the description of the program, I'm just like, this aligns with, what I want to do. I also had to get an internship while I was in grad school. So one of my internships was to work at the court.
Okay.
And I ended up working in Phoenix Court, working with youth who were sexually abused or trafficked.
Okay.
So now working at the court, I see kids who are experiencing similar circumstances times 10. I'm just learning so much about these kids, and I'm learning so much about myself too. At this time now, I've been in therapy, so I'm doing the work myself, and I'm able to see adults who are working with similar kids. I was able to get more language, develop more language to understand the needs beneath the behavioral issues.
If you don't have that language, you just see kids as bad.
Yes, you just label them and you write them off. And and it's crazy because I hate labels now. I hate labels now.
Too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I hate labels
because they're so harmful.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah. I feel like the thread of your journey has been mentors. Mentors. So take us to where you are now. What do you do now?
Yes. So currently I am a mental health professional in a juvenile detention center. I work with the kids a lot on, how do I even describe the work?
You work.
It's like, what don't I do?
Yeah. So here's the thing.
Okay.
When I think about kids, not I, but people think about kids that are involved in the juvenile justice system, they think about some of the most heinous crimes known when it comes to kids, or they don't know anything about these kids. But what they do know is that these kids are troubled, and these are the kids that need to be locked up because they are causing the most harm in the community. What kind of kids are you seeing?
A lot of kids who are hurting and don't have the support, resources, or a person in their life who understands them. If you take the time to listen to these kids' stories, you just have so much compassion.
But this kid steals cars. This kid runs away from home. This kid gets suspended from school a lot because they're bullying and fighting kids. You're saying that folks should be listening to their stories. You're saying that folks should have some type of empathy for this kid. This kid causes harm throughout the whole community. Why should anybody care about this kind of kid?
People see the behaviors and the crimes, but they don't see the story. And if someone took the time to ask me what was wrong, they will learn that I was just mirroring what I saw. And for a lot of these kids, they're doing the same thing.
They're mirroring what they see, not just at home, but in their neighborhood, in their community, in their school, in all areas where they come from.
Yeah.
They are reflecting back to us as a society of who we are.
Yes. These kids are frequently shamed, which people don't realize reinforces the behaviors. Because if you tell a kid they're bad enough times, why would they change? Why would they believe that they can do anything different? Because we don't realize that we develop our sense of self and who we become from what we hear people say about us. And one thing that I've learned about working with this population is that they all have strengths. No one has verbalized to these kids that they have so much potential and that they are valued and loved. A lot of them don't feel loved. And what's so crazy about hurt people, we treat people the way we're treated.
Yeah.
You can't expect kids to love others when they haven't experienced that for themselves first. If you want kids to show compassion, they need to receive it first. We were talking about safety earlier, how important safety is.
Yeah.
And a lot of these kids don't feel safe in their community, at home, even within themselves. And the first time they experience safety might be might be through a conversation where for the first time they feel just listened to.
Yeah.
Because, everyone wants to tell them what to do, but no one takes the time to understand why they do what they do.
Yeah. Folks are going to watch this and they're going to hear your story. What's something you want the listeners to take away from this story, your story?
I would love everyone to take away from this story the power of relationships.
Okay.
The power of seeing potential in a kid before the kid can see it themselves. So when they see a kid acting out or doing something that they aren't supposed to do, before they fix, first develop a relationship.
Okay.
A relationship alone just breaks down so many barriers.
So, last question. The name of the podcast is What I Know Now. After everything that you've experienced, what do you know now?
I don't know how to articulate it yet, but like kids need to be loved for more than what they do. Like they just need to be loved for existing.
That's it.
That's it. Like there's so much transformation.
Love should not be conditional and based on my behavior.
Yes.
Yeah.
It should not.
Don't take love away because I acted out today.
Right.
Love me simply because I'm human.
Yes.
And I exist.
And love is the most powerful transformation.
Hey.
Yes. So what I know now is that I am loved. And I think that there's so much power in that alone.
Yeah.
Because when I didn't feel loved, the world felt dark. It felt like I was just in this box that I couldn't escape from. I feel like I could write a whole book on love. But anyways.
Thank you so much for joining us on the What I Know Now podcast. Where can people reach you?
Yeah, so I do have an Instagram, Nala B_.
A lesson I'm walking away with today from this experience is that love really, really, really is the answer to all the problems of the world.
It is love.
It's love.
It is. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. Check out our programs on the Delta Project's website, thedeltaproject.co, and be sure to follow us on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.